Hi, my name is Pete Lee, and you're watching Helium Comedy Studios, which is my favorite comedy studio in the whole wide world. Yeah, I started comedy in the Midwest. I started in Minnesota and Wisconsin, and there's a lot of funny people there. I think it's because it's so cold, that you just got to kind of find your fun. Being in a city like Philly, you guys have like all the best entertainers in the world come here, all the best shows, all the best football teams come here to play the Eagles, and the Eagles are one of the best teams. In Wisconsin, I don't know, we have nothing. We in the winter we have snowballs. Wisconsin's also a state of just rampant alcoholics, and I think when you have people that drink that much, I think you become funny. Or violent. I don't know. The comedy scene in New York, everybody's really nice and helpful, and they support each other because they just know that it's a scene where you got to be good to get on stage and make the crowds laugh, because New York crowds are kind of like Philly crowds, where the crowd will show up, and if you stink, they will be happy to be silent. They just have this vibe about them, like I'm comfortable if you're uncomfortable. I think that kind of makes the system there are no shortcuts. If you're nice, it doesn't help you be ahead or whatever. So I feel like everybody's pretty cool with one another, whereas in Wisconsin and Minnesota, the scene might have been a little bit cattier. I don't know. I think the crowds were a little better. It was easier, so there was a little more jockeying off stage. So okay. I was surprised when I got to New York City at how kind all the really great comics were, Maybe, I don't know, maybe I just walked in with my stupid smile, like, hi, I'm Pete. And they were like, all right, I think this guy has a head injury. I'm aware that it's off-putting to people that, I'm essentially like a Muppet or a minion, where I'm like, hi, how's it going? Even in my own home, my wife, I'll just kind of get up and be like, hey, hon, how you doing? And she's like, don't do that. It's morning, I do get angry. I have a dynamic personality, but a lot of times when I get angry, I just kind of get quiet, because I've been through a lot of therapy, and I know that when you get angry, the best thing to do is just to take a breath and go for a walk. Oh, can I tell you about an angry experience yesterday? It wasn't me, it was a different guy. I flew into Philly, and Philly's a city where everybody wants to fight you or whatever. I always say about Philly, how in Hawaii they put a wreath of flowers around your neck, one of those leis. In Philly they're like, welcome, here's a black eye. I got in the wrong lift, and then we were driving away. It was like, dude, my mistake. I think I'm in the wrong lift. But we got too far away. And this guy just lost it on me. I don't think I would be this angry if somebody stabbed my mom in front of me. That's how angry this guy got. And he was starting to threaten me, and he's like, when I drop you off, he's like, I'm gonna knock you out. And I was like, oh boy, no, I don't think I want that. And this is the most Philly experience part of it, was that we both got out of the car, and I got out, and I just backed away from the car. Well, he had stopped the car in a crosswalk, the crosswalk of the airport, and there was a lot of people trying to get through it. And then there was one of those guys in one of those murder ball wheelchairs, the ones that are welded aggressively, and he's wearing gloves, and he's just jacked, and he's strapped into it. And he's like, hey asshole, why are you blocking the crosswalk? And blah, blah. And then he starts making this guy mad. And then I realize, I'm like, oh my God, this guy is now starting to try to fight the murder ball wheelchair guy. He redirected his anger. And I was like, oh my God, Philly is so dangerous that you can't even have a fight without someone trying to steal it from you. I don't know what happened with it. I didn't even get the guy's license plate, but I was like, that was the most Philly experience in the world. Yeah, so one of my best friends, he was the executive producer for Duck Dynasty. And throughout the Duck Dynasty series, I did some punch-up writing for it. Duck Dynasty is what they call scripted reality, which the Kardashians are scripted reality. The producers would be like, okay, here's kind of the storyline of the episode. You're gonna have to accomplish this, and this is they script, here's the end of the first act, here's how it complicates everything, and then here's how you fix it in the second act. So it's just the same format as a sitcom and a sitcom script, but they do it with reality stars. And so they had been doing this with Duck Dynasty for 13 seasons, and they were getting 11 million people that watched that show. And so they needed jokes. Technically, because it's reality, they can't hire writers. So I was hired on as a producer. That all I did was write jokes for them. And what they would do is, just kind of, hey, this is the scene, this is what you want to accomplish. And, Uncle Cyrus, these are your 2 punchlines that you're going to kind of work into the conversation. And these guys got so good at doing this and that they would just nail it. They were like actors. And one episode they figured out the Uncle Cyrus had never seen the internet. So imagine this redneck guy, he's like so redneck, weird masculine that he doesn't even drink water. He says that he gets water from the ice cubes in his iced tea, and he has never seen the internet. And so what would happen with all the crazy internet clips if we showed this guy the internet? And it was hysterical. I wrote all these jokes going into it, just jokes about the video that he could say. But then when we got into filming it, it was just evident that so much of the comedy came from this guy has just never seen this thing, and it was blowing his mind. So a lot of the jokes were just mind blown jokes, and we were chirping him into him, and he was killing it. It was so much fun. But yeah, it's so weird how you do stand up and you go all around the country and you establish your voice in comedy, and then when you do writing, you wind up writing for people that their point of view on earth is 180 degrees different than your point of view. But in the end, funny is funny. I lived in New York for 12 years, and for 6 of those years, none of the comedy clubs passed me. And then all of a sudden I got an audition for David Letterman's show at the Stand, and I was the only comic on the list that got Letterman, and so all of a sudden I got passed at the Stand. And so I had a comedy club, and I was doing all sorts of sets there. And then after that, I got passed at the other ones. And then I think it was after 10 years living there, I finally auditioned at the Cellar. And Esty was like, Pete, how come you waited so long to audition? And I just told her that I was afraid of her, and she's like, Pete, you do not have to be afraid of me. I'm a nice person. And I now watch Yankees games and call her on the phone and talk with her. She's a sweet person that everybody has decided is scary, but she's a kind woman, I think making it in New York might be getting past at the Cellar and working that sort of a circuit. I got to go on the Tonight Show, and I felt like that was kind of part of making it. I don't know, making it in LA, it might be becoming a Comedy Store comedian, which I'm still in development there. So there's a program at the Comedy Store called the Development Program, and Joe Rogan was in it for 4 years. Jay Leno talks about how he was in it for 6 years. I've been in it for 5 years. I'm about to do my 8th Tonight Show appearance, and I'm still developing my act at the Comedy Store, which we're always all just developing our act. But I'm hoping that next year I become fully past there, and I guess that would be considered making it in LA. But LA is also it's a whole different thing, because it's not necessarily a city that you go there to do comedy. You go there to get a sitcom, or you go there to be in movies. So the leap to making it isn't just auditioning for Esty and getting over that fear. It's oh, I have to become a movie star. I have to become Kevin Hart now, We're shooting this stuff on the internet right now, and nowadays almost nothing matters in media except for TikTok and Instagram and YouTube. And 5 years ago, if you were to go on stage and be you've seen him on YouTube, the whole audience would be oh, this guy's a loser, And now it's oh, you've seen this guy on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, and everybody's that's all I watch. I'm about to do the Tonight Show, like I said, for the 8th time, and the airing of the Tonight Show is really cool. Going to do the Tonight Show is really cool. But the thing that really moves the needle is when the Tonight Show posts that clip on Instagram and TikTok, and it gets 6 million views, and then you get, X amount of followers and all this heat. That's the thing that counts now. I guess making it in either city is what's your TikTok like? Hey you guys, it's Pete Lee, and I want to promote upcoming projects, but in the current state of comedy, it's kind of just my Instagram and my TikTok. So please follow me at Pete Lee, Pete Lee, Pete Lee. All right, I'll see you there.